Kathy Brennan here, helping you to look better, feel better, and do better. This week we're talking about making a habit of connecting with others. Well, that seems easy, right? There's no sweating involved and there's no getting up early. It's just connecting with other people. We connect with people in many different ways. When we are children, our main connections are with our parents and our siblings. Eventually, we get little neighborhood friends and school friends. Someday you might choose a spouse, join a club, join a faith community. You have all kinds of different groups like coworkers. All of these connections are really good for you. It's a way to expand your perspective, and just we are wired for that human connection. Now, not all of these connections are deep and meaningful. There's kind of different levels. Some are you share deep things, and other ones it's just, around a hobby or just work. But it's still such a good habit to be around people and have all this human connection. And really, we've all had this experience. You never know who you'll meet. Sometimes in the most random places, at some kind of big social event, you meet someone who really can become a good friend. So why is this such a good habit, just connecting with other people? Well, there was a study that started over 80 years ago at Harvard. There was actually two studies. One took Harvard-educated men, and the other took men who were kind of destitute, who didn't have much privilege. And these men were both studied to find out, they were asking the question, what will help these men age well? Every year they went out and they asked them questions and gathered some health statistics, and eventually they even asked, were interviewing the spouse. So they looked at them for a long time, throughout their lifetime. Many of them have deceased and some of them are still alive. No, it couldn't be. They couldn't be alive if it was 80 years ago. Anyways, they were asking the question, what leads to aging well? And they found that it was not their opportunities or their social status or their stature or their genetics. The number one factor for the reason why people aged well was their relationships. And not the number of relationships, but the depth of their relationships, the closeness of their relationships. Isn't that fascinating? All of these relationships we have increase our perspective and help us grow. We see life in different ways as we listen to other people's stories. And the closer we get to people, the more likely it is that we'll find differences. We'll find differences in what each of you value, or ways that you think, or ways you like to spend your time. And it's in those conflict areas, or in those areas where you see the differences, that you actually learn to accept someone different from yourself. And that's where the depth of the relationship can really start to blossom and grow. Really, over a lifetime, you're going to have, at any given time, 2 or maybe 3 of these very, very close relationships. We can't do more than that. We don't have time, we don't have capacity, and we won't be able to be at the level where we can trust and be that close to people. But those deep connections are really important for our sustained, happy aging. So now, how do you create this habit of connecting with others? Well, it's going to take time. These friendships don't blossom in a month or even a year. It's often when you go through challenges with other people, or you have a lot of experiences and you can look back and tell stories, then you're really building something over time. Another thing that it's going to take is listening. We aren't always that good at listening. We're doing this competitive talking, which I'm going to write about, but we really need to listen to other people. Listen to where they've been, and it'll help you understand who they are and why they make decisions and what is important to them, what struggles they've had. So be very curious, and that's what will create the connection, because as you're curious, the other person feels heard, and we all want that. We all want to be heard and understood. So that's what it takes to build these. Now you can start doing something easy, like have people over for dinner. Be curious, enjoy them, share a bit of yourself. And eventually you'll find someone that's like, I feel like we have a special connection. And then you might end up doing something different with them, and something more, and getting closer. But just continually, I love to have dinner with people. It's sort of a place where you can just sit and talk and focus on each other and really learn about each other. It's a great habit. Like our bodies and minds and hearts need this. We need to look at other people in the face and hear them and speak to them. Those connections are just like medicine. Or go to a movie. Oh my goodness, talk about a great place to find out and learn about people, and then talk about it. It's same like with a book club, where you're both reading or seeing the same thing, and what is your perspective versus what is my perspective. And you can, the tricky part for us as humans is we are in such a fast-paced world that we're often just thinking about what we want to say about this movie or book, instead of taking the time to listen to what other people are saying. And that's where the connection are made. And then maybe you can ask a question about what they said, or this is what I hear you saying, and they can ask you a question, and this is what they hear you saying. That's where those deep connections are made, and we need those. We just need them in our soul. You can start at a club or a church or a synagogue where you already have a commonality. Maybe it's a golf club or a church, and you already have kind of a lot in common. And then you can go beyond that. That's kind of a good place to start. But again, back to the curiosity. Ask questions and be curious about other people. And make sure they're curious about you, because you don't want to just make this one-way connection where they're just telling you all about themselves, and then really a two-way connection has not been made. They're just talking a lot about themselves, and they're not that interested in you. So, give it time. You can't figure this out in 5 minutes, but give it time and make sure that you're both adding to the relationship, because those relationships are what are going to help you throughout your life. It'll help you feel happier, lighter, more perspective. You have somebody that's there when you need them. It's how we're created and wired. So make a habit of connecting with others. Be well.